tirar.
Faz em plantão pra ver se ele se toma. Agora volta.
Ué? Gente, qual a doença?
Mas você tá enxergando ele assim, certo?
Giro de
É porque normalmente todos esses negócios ficam pra cima.
Mas
Caralho.
como que vira esse
Lê ali nesse canto.
compartilhar, ativar o flash e desativar o microfone?
Deixa ele assim.
Vai ser um hands vertical.
Ah, meu, paciência, o que eu posso fazer, caralho? É o que tem pra hoje.
Ai, caralho.
Não tem a estrutura de produção ali. É o que tem pra hoje.
Ele desce mais.
Sempre esse cara.
Aí, pega o link de novo pra mandar pra...
Não, foi, retomou. Retomou.
Pessoal, oi, bom dia.
Eu queria checar isso aqui, mas eu não
Vamos começar?
consigo. Tá meio torto.
Galera, tem alguém fora?
Tá entrando. Pessoal,
Vai ter que abaixar mais.
bom dia. A gente tem um town hall especial aqui hoje, com a presença de um visitante ilustre aqui, que é o Lars Erik, e que evidentemente não é brasileiro, é norueguês. Então eu vou mudar aqui para inglês, tá bom? So now, speaking in English, I'd like to introduce Lars Erik. Lars Erik is the new co-president, global co-president for Huon Autumn. We've been working as a partner with Lars Erik for a long time, since actually we joined Huon Autumn in 2015. That's not his first time in Brazil. He was in Brazil a couple of years ago, helping us in the global bid for the Embraer account that we ended up winning this account, so it was a very helpful and important for us. And he has been an important friend and supporter of our work here in Brazil since the beginning. So now he has this new position. He used to be in charge of EMEA. For those who do not know, EMEA is the short for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, so a very large region, probably the biggest region for Huon Autumn globally. And now he's in charge, together with Richard Miller from the UK office, he's in charge of the global management of the company. He knows our operation, and he's also leading a very important transformation of global Huon Autumn. So the idea here, as we always do in our town halls, let's keep this very informal. Lars Erik will tell you a little bit about himself, about his view for the company globally, and then we are going to open up for questions. So you can ask, obviously, anything that you guys want to ask. Of course, the questions that would make more sense are questions that are global questions, because he's in charge of the global company. So things very specific to Brazil, those he may be not aware, but feel free to ask anything. So without saying anything more, let me pass here to Lars Erik.
Can you guys hear me if I talk like this? Okay, so I'll speak up. Okay, we have some technical issues here, so I think I'll do without the presentation. Thank you for those kind words, Ricardo. It's great for me to be here again. It's my second time in Brazil, and second time in Sao Paulo. It's good to see so many of you, because last time I was here, we basically sat in a war room to prepare for the Embraer pitch, and that was about it. This time I had a little bit more time to meet with the full team, the leadership team, and all of you. So I appreciate that. And I'll talk about the One H&K ambition as Ricardo mentioned. Before I do that, I actually wanted to talk a little bit about you, because it is for me a great pleasure to be able to come to an agency like this one, which is so vibrant and such a market leader in such an important marketplace. I actually came from Bahrain yesterday in Dubai, where I was participating in a pitch. And this is a big pitch for a large company in the Middle East. And we were able to put together a team there with local people and people from the international agency. And it just reminds me, and I'll get to the point in a second, that what we're trying to achieve in this company is trying to find this balance between being strong in the local markets, but also being plugged into the larger global agency, so that we can get the best of two worlds. And when I was in Bahrain yesterday, and we had this pitch, we had 6 or 7 people. They were about evenly spread between the local people and the international people in that pitch. And I think up against APCO, up against Burson, up against Edelman, up against Brunswick, I think we have a fair chance, because we're able to find that balance and bring the best to the client. And that's very much what One H&K is all about. Now, we have the same experience here with Embraer, I would say. A couple of years ago when we pitched for that, because we had a strong local team, but we also had people coming in from the US, from the UK, from Europe, etc., to find that exact balance. And that is very much what this is all about. One H&K, this ambition that we have launched now, for me is a lot about inclusiveness, making sure that we recognize great work, great talent, wherever it is. And to come here to Brazil and to see such a strong market-leading agency that we have here, vibrant, creative, forward-looking, productive. We have so many of those virtues that we want to see in One H&K as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about strategy, a little bit about our company, show you some good work that we're doing, and then I hope we can keep this open and have a bit of a Q&A later on. When it comes to strategy, we're still in an early phase. Just a couple of weeks ago that this new structure was announced, and we're now trying to put together what will be a sensible strategy for this firm going forward. And I want to get feedback from you as well. We had a conversation with the directors this morning. I'm going to meet a group of you a little bit later to get your sense of what you think you would like to see from H&K going forward. And we will try to take in as much as possible from the whole organization to arrive at the right strategy going forward. But there are certain things that will be a part of this. And one is to try to find this balance between what should be global, what should be local. That's an important balance. Another balance is how much of the legacy of our firm and legacy services should we continue to invest into, develop further, versus how much of the new services, new capabilities should we invest in and develop further. In most markets, it is a combination. The public relations industry still has media relations as its service number one. But content development is very quickly becoming a good number two, and in some markets it is number one. In some other markets, we have public affairs as a very important domain for our services. Other places, again, it is different. It is more creative work, and it is more about creating integrated consumer campaigns. Hill & Knowlton, as an agency, is a broad platform. We have a long history in most of the markets that we have been in. Allianz is obviously newer to this, but the company goes a long way back. So we have a broad platform, and we want to find that balance the legacy and the future and forward-looking and the innovative new part of what we need to do. So we're working on strategy, but we are going to spend some time to arrive at what is the right way for us to present ourselves to the market. It needs to be more consistent. And it goes to this point of being more of a one company, which, one company. Because some have said that Kieran Open has been almost to look at this Italian the city, in the Renaissance you had in Italy and parts of Europe, you had the different cities up against each other. So we were fighting each other in Europe. We didn't join up. We didn't have that common country institution as we have today. And here in Open has been compared a little bit with that. And we've had lots of good pockets around doing different things. When I took over EMEA, that was very much the case. I had to go to France, and we have a fantastic consumer team working with consumer clients, but we were very weak on corporate. Then I could cross the border to Germany, and we didn't have any consumer capabilities almost at all. No marketing, no markups. Okay, we have people in the video with us. Sorry. So we weren't joined up. We could go from one market to another, and we didn't have the same look and feel. We didn't have the same methodologies. We didn't have the same way of presenting us to the marketplace. We were using different methodologies. We had different cultures. So when taking over then the EMEA responsibility, I quickly saw that we have to work on getting the balance right here between the legacy of each of these markets, because they are in themselves different. It's not Belgium might be different than Brazil and the other way around. So it's not identical markets. They're not identical requirements to us as an agency. But we still have to pursue more consistency and a more one company feel. So this is something that we're going to work on. And it's going to be about culture. It's going to be about offerings. It's going to be about methodology. And it's going to be about structure. So that business development is one structure. HR and talent is another structure. We want our people to be treated more similarly wherever they are. They should have the same opportunities. They should be assessed in the same way. They should receive an opportunity for training, which is not greatly different from one place to another. So we really want to look for the right balance of consistencies and becoming more one company. And I wanted to show a little video at this point, which goes to our history as a firm. We have a very long-standing history, and we should be proud about that. So I wanted to show this as a backdrop for our development going forward. I think we'll just skip the video. We don't have any sound here, sorry. Okay, so what that video is telling is really that we have a legacy that goes back to 1927. So basically, Kieran Open is, in many ways, the grand old lady of this industry. It's a company that has been able to survive through the tough 30s. I mean, we started just before the Great Depression in the 30s. It went through the war years
of 1940 and onwards, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and through into our time. So this is a company that has been quite resilient and has been able to overcome many challenges on the way. And I think we should take more pride in the history of the firm, because it is really something to be very proud about. Now, we're now in a situation where we have to reinvent ourselves yet again. We have to come up with new approaches that is more adapted to our time. So there is no doubt that going forward, we are going to have to do more of what you are already doing here in Brazil. I think we'll just leave the presentation, okay? Because it is really what you're doing here on innovating new services, investing into creative, having studio capabilities, creative capabilities, underpinning that more with data and analytics. All of that is going to be a part of our future everywhere around the firm. So when we talk about a one company and a one agency model, it is really about getting all of this together in a more consistent way going forward than what has been the case in the past. Now, HNK is a strong agency in many ways. We have almost 3,000 people. We have almost 90 offices. We're active in more than 50 countries. And we're a very long-standing, strong brand that the clients and the markets recognize. We have thousands of applications from people every year that wants to work with us. So we have a strong starting platform. But one of our bigger challenges is that we are not joined up sufficiently. So the aspiration of a one HNK is to get more consistency into this. And the key markets, like Brazil, like the UK, like China, US, Canada, Germany, and some of those other key markets where the global clients come to purchase global services, we need to have more consistency across. So I'm thinking that Brazil going forward is going to have a much more central role in the global agency, both because of the weight of your business. You're a sizable business, many people, great leadership, but also because of your business model, which is very forward-looking, and because you are a natural gravitating central point in South America, which should also be a very important part of a global agency. So this, which is up here now, is really just 3 pillars that was very important for me when I took the EMEA job. EMEA is the most complex region that we have worldwide. And as I said earlier, when I took over that responsibility, it was very important for us to try to get it all more together. So what we did basically was 3 things. The first pillar here was really about connecting the agency, connecting the dots. The different markets needed to be better connected, but also individuals. So we established what we call a client advisory forum with our top 50 advisors, so that every time we get a tricky question from a client or we have a challenge somewhere, we can go there and we can ask, okay, does anyone have experience with this particular sector, with this particular issue? And we could get feedback from our vast talent pool in EMEA. We've had different technical solutions that has helped us connect. We've had different meetings, training, etc. that has enabled us to infuse some of the same methodologies, etc. Training and learning has been a very important part of this as well. My vision in EMEA was that we wanted to become the most sought after place to work, because this is the place where you will get the most learning. For those of you that have worked with management consultancies, you know that they are very good at this. They're able to take in the best people from universities, but also to give them a learning experience over a few years where they really feel that there's a professional development. And I think HNK should do the same thing. So we have summer schools and we have a lot of different activities under an umbrella that we call HNK University. And we're doing both on-site training in the different countries, but we also do international training. And the third has really been about innovation. And that, again, this balance between the legacy of and history of our business and the future of our business, to try to innovate more and take more learning and cross-populate between markets. So the 3P is an example of that. That is a methodology that I think you are to some extent also using. That we developed in London a few years ago, and it has been trained in all the different markets so that everyone are on the same page on how we attack development of a campaign and also some of the pitch work that we're doing. Sherlock is a social media listening tool that we also developed. It wouldn't make sense for us to develop a different product in all the different markets. We wouldn't use the scale. So instead we want to develop from the center of H&K some products, some services that we think could be used everywhere. And Sherlock is an example of that. Flight School is another, which is a crisis simulation tool that we've had for years, but which is still not used everywhere. And we have others. So these are just examples, but the point is to try to connect the agency better, both by markets and individuals, to do more learning and training activities so that everyone feel that they have a professional development, which is good, but in the process it will also join us more together because we're learning the same process, the same methodology. And then thirdly, invest more into innovative services and new tools that everyone can use. And data analytics is going to be one part of that. So, so this is the aspiration. Okay, we have certain challenges as a company, but we also have a great legacy. We have a strong starting point in many markets, but we're not joined up enough. So we're going to work on that. And then you could ask why then two global presidents, Richard and myself were appointed a couple of weeks ago. Well, we have put a lot of thinking into that. And what we have agreed between us is that instead of us sort of having two competing portfolios, we didn't want to do that. We all wanted to work together to get this right. So what we've done is that we have split this into two portfolios. One is vertical and one is horizontal. So the horizontal is going to be, and Richard is going to take lead on this, is going to be about developing capabilities that should go across all the key markets. Take a studio, for instance, a creative studio. Build on methodologies like 3P and others, products and services. Take an example, we've now developed Better Impact, which is a sustainability offer. That could probably work many places, not only one place. To look at the different items that will drive transformation of our business, that's something that Richard will take the responsibility on. I will take the responsibility on the vertical side, meaning our business performance. Vertical are all the different markets and operations. So it goes to financial, operational performance, talent that we're recruiting right, and we get the right people in, sales and new business, which is also an important part of driving the business results forward. So we have a division between us, but we're also working very closely together to get this right. Okay, well, I guess that was it. Something wrong with the presentation here today. So just wrapping up in short, the company is now in a state where it is ready to go to the next step. Over the last few years, we have developed some very strong tools, some very strong capabilities. We have lots of good people, but they are working too much in pockets. Ideal is a good example of that. Ideal is a fantastic company in itself. What you guys have done here together with the team is just very impressive. But not everyone around H&K globally are aware of it. And I think we have an opportunity here to both use people from this pool. Some of the cases I asked you earlier, do you have good cases that we can use to present to clients? Are there innovations that are going on here that we could maybe learn from elsewhere? So we want to do that more. And although US is an important market and the UK is an important hub, still the very, 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 very large majority of our business is everywhere else. So when I came from Dubai yesterday, we have also built a studio. We have some great people working in government there. And government is a sector that we might also want to work on other places. In other words, we need to learn from those on that. We can learn from you guys on other things here. And we should do that all over. So it's really about establishing the structures and having a strategy that enables us to take out more of the potential that is actually in the firm already. We're just not taking it out properly yet. So at this stage, what we're doing is that we're trying to plan out for 2019. We want to get as much as feedback as possible from all of the markets, and then we're going to use that to launch certain initiatives as we move into next year. And which initiatives are going to be informed by you guys and everywhere else where we go, based on what is the need. Is it to build a strong data and analytics capability? Is that what we need to do from the center instead of having duplicated investments in all markets? Is it to set up more creative studios? Maybe. We are going to establish some clear sector needs also globally. That's going to be a priority. Some have told me that we need a stronger marketing and thought leadership initiative, because Hillenauton doesn't have that. So that might be something we want to do. And others have pointed to training. We need to do more on the training side for our people so that we can infuse everyone with more of the good stuff that we're actually doing and developing everyone to a new level and becoming a better employer brand in the same process. So exactly what is going to be the priorities we're working on now, but it would be really good to get your feedback on that. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope that we can have a few questions as well. Thanks.
So I think, Nadja, we have some questions that the audience previously made, right? And everyone, if you are, feel free to make questions, other questions. Anyone?
Come on.
Okay.
A few years ago, I unfortunately don't remember the name of the program, but we were assigned kind of a mentor from abroad. And then we could change ideas and experience. Do you still have that and it's not here, or you don't work with that anymore?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Is it the Dave Robinson Scholarship?
No, it was, we had to write about ourselves and what clients we would work on, and then some, I think from Brazil, I think it was from UK, and then there was someone there.
Mentoring program.
Yeah.
I think we still have a mentoring program, and I know that it is active in certain parts of the business. I don't know the exact status of how widely it is being used, but that's definitely something that we should look into if it works well for you, and that's the important thing. But that's a good way of connecting people. Some are junior people, some are senior people, different parts of the business. Absolutely. So that's something I'll make a note of that and discuss that with Kate. Kate Augustine is now our talent lead globally, and she's reporting to me. We will be talking about this next week, actually, what is going to be the priorities on the talent side for next year. And if this is something that you think should be sort of reinvigorated, we should absolutely look at that.
I'm sure you heard about the fake news that we're facing here, the problem. And as we're working at PR agency, I'd like to know, what do you think we should do to help on it here in Brazil?
Fake news.
Yeah.
Really? Do you have fake news here? Is it a fake news that you got a new president also just now?
Yeah.
The rest of the world is looking, big eyes now looking at Brazil, what's going to happen. Well, I don't know the nature of fake news here versus other places, but that's a problem, I think, globally, that we're seeing much more of that. You know, as communications professionals, I think we have an independent responsibility for both ethically and responsibly thinking through what it is that we do. We can't solve fake news, obviously, as a firm. I mean, globally, that's a trend which is caused by many things. The echo chamber effect is very strong. Gossip travels exceptionally quick. in social media. It's difficult for people to know what is true, what is not true. Many of the media, the larger media and publishing houses have gone together and invested into sort of fact centrals that are correcting fake news. Facebook and others, and Facebook is a big client of ours, are trying to put resources into containing some of the fake news as well. But you know, it's the nature of social media also. It is freedom to speak. It's also freedom to spread whatever gossip that you want to spread, unfortunately, you might say. So I think what might be our responsibility for this is, number one, I think we work in this space. We work for clients that wants to provide messages out to their different audiences, and we have to make sure that that is based on truthful information, that it is based on facts. I think we have an individual responsibility independently to actually consider what type of information we put out there. I think we can also advise some of our clients to be more active in actually monitoring their space on the fake news. And I know that we have certain clients who are doing that. I work with oil and energy, for instance, and there are a lot of fake news going out there, a lot of rumors, a lot of allegations that aren't true. And one of those clients have a monitoring service where they're looking for what is not true and then insert themselves into the conversation by having an active content strategy where they're actually clearing issues and questions and trying to correct what is wrong. So there are different things we can do, but this is a much bigger trend than for us to solve. I think what we first and foremost need to think about is how we act. We need to make sure that it is ethically and responsibly driven, and that the information that we put out there is actually something that we can stand for.
More questions?
Lars, nice to meet you. I can see global crisis affecting all the media outlets around the world. And I would like to know, in your opinion, how will be the future of the public relation?
Future of public relations?
Yeah.
That's a big question. But it's also a very good question. Okay, so where do I start? Well, okay. So there are different ways to look at this, but one way to look at this is that the space for communicating is just growing, okay? So there are more media channels than there has ever been. We're in a fundamentally mediatized society. Not only traditional media, but also all sorts of new media. It is more fragmented, yes, but there is more channels available, and there is a level of, let's say, content or noise out there, which is just unprecedented, and it just continues. It's an exponential development year by year. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that it is more, not less, it's more important for most brands, most companies, to come up with a strategy for how to navigate all of that. It is a more difficult marketplace, if you will, or a difficult media landscape to navigate. There are more issues, they travel faster because of globalization. It is more fragmented. It is more difficult to reach many target groups because they can choose in many ways today. They don't watch television in the same way or read newspaper. You don't have those single channels to reach them. You have to be much more precise. So in many ways, the future of public relations, I think, could be very buoyant, very positive, because the need for communication is just growing. And you should think that that is a mega trend and a fundamental that will drive our business. Now, there's still some challenges in all of this, and one of them is that our legacy as an industry has been very much based on traditional management of media channels, on public affairs and stakeholder management, what we call the legacy of our business. Much more of the future is going to be based on digital channels, on creative ways to reach the consumers. It needs to be more technologically savvy, more underpinned by data and analytics, because you can't only use gut feeling anymore to reach a consumer group or a stakeholder group. You have to know what you're doing. So I think the fundamental answer to your question is that I think communications and branding and differentiation is going to be more important. That drives a positive outlook for us. But we have to change as a company and as an industry to be able to grasp that. Because if not, we have others that will take that for us. We have a big marketing industry that is now growing into public relations or communications. It's not like we have a domain on social media or creative campaigns or content. I mean, most advertising agencies would say that they are in that space as well. So, in responding to your question, I think we have a fantastic future, but we need to do the right things. And we cannot base ourselves on the same business model that worked in the 90s. We have to think about how this will work going forward. And that means a couple of things. It means that we need to get in new people with a different skill set, in addition to those that are there from earlier. We need to develop new technologies that enable us to engage with interest groups, consumers in a way that works. So we need to put more money into innovation, into new services and new products, new ways of working. But I think we have a good and prosperous future. You know, all of this research, all of these studies that are being conducted always said that public relations has always been about many things, not one thing. And it still is. So I refuse to think strategically about this, that we have to choose between, we're not going to do media relations anymore, we're only going to do content. No, we don't have to choose, we can do both. And it's not like we have to choose, do we want to be public affairs, or can we actually be a creative firm? No, we don't have to choose, there's no point. Public relations is in many ways a subset of a much wider marketing industry. And for me, it doesn't make sense that we take that subset and we fragment it even further. Everything out there suggests that this is now much more complicated, much more comprehensive. Different channels are integrated. Consumers are not only influenced by one source, but from many sources. So we have to be the masters of managing all of that. So in my view, we should go broader, and we should invest into multi-specialisms. So we have people that are really good in all the different areas, and then they need to come together in an orchestrated way to influence those that we want to influence. And that will give us a potential for a lot of growth.
And here in Brazil, we are very social, and we are heavy users of social media. And one of our biggest challenges here in Brazil is dealing with digital influencers. And this market is it's growing very fast here in Brazil. And how do you see that globally? How does Hiwenoto see this market growing?
Well, it is growing. Digital influencers, or influencers as such, is a big new subset of we even have competitors only focusing on influencer marketing, as I'm sure you have here as well. So I think the short answer to that is that yes, that is a big part of what we are doing in many places. I would say particularly in the technology and consumer packaged goods industry, where we've done a lot there. In other areas, maybe not as much. But this is one of the areas that if you have experience here or a specialism, this is something we should use to learn other places, because we are unevenly good at this. I would say in London we're doing this very well. I think in the Middle East we have some strong teams. In France we're doing influencer marketing quite well. Probably you do here, I don't know. But in the US, I think we have a way to go. We're not good enough. And I also think that the sector leads, that we will establish a sector program. So technology sector, energy, fast-moving consumer good, healthcare. In all of those verticals, you have influencers. And those influencers have to be a part of how we operate when we're putting together a program. So I'm thinking that we need to do this different ways, both by sector, so that they have a responsibility for developing influencer marketing, influencer programs, but also that the different markets like Brazil, Germany, France, US, etc. have a capability to deal with that. I think it's a good point.
Here.
Hello. How do you see the actual movement of global agencies investing here in Brazil? I mean, global communication groups. Is it still a trend to be continued? Is there any joint venture coming soon? I mean, in general, how do you guys in abroad see our market here?
So what is the question? Is it communications firms or?
Again, if I understood, the question is basically how you see the trend of global holding companies of communications, such as WPP investing in Brazil, because like Eric, in Brazil, if you consider like 1 decade ago, in the PR landscape, we had basically local players. Now most of the players, such as us, are linked somehow with international groups. So how you see this trend?
Okay, so the global holding companies, I don't know if everyone are aware here, but most of the communications and marketing industry worldwide is owned by certain holding companies. So Omnicom is super big, IPG, Publicis, which is a French group, Dentsu, which is a Japanese group, and then of course WPP, which is the owner for us and for many, many other brands. There are many independent agencies as well, but those are big. What I can say is that they are all in trouble. Number one, they are all in trouble, including WPP. Stock price is down, they're very pressured. The reason for that is much because of digitalization that leads to a different environment for these big ticket advertising agencies and the big ticket media agencies. It does not have the same impact on us directly, but for Mediacom and GroupM, Young and Rubicon, all of these big advertising agencies, it has really changed the game. So for the time being, I think 2018, probably to 2019, for most of the large holding companies, they are trying to clean up costs and adapt to a new reality. In WPP, they're merging companies. Martin Sorrell, who was the lead, is now out. We have Mark Weed as the new WPP lead. And he is now joining different agencies together. There's no plan, to my knowledge, that HNK will be a part of something like that, but media agencies and advertising and the digitally driven agencies are merged together. So to your question, I don't know exactly about South America. What I can say is that all of these large holding companies have a focus on Brazil, because Brazil in its own right is such a big market. And all of these holding groups are following the client purchasing pattern, and the clients want to have the big markets. So we have to have a strong capability, and all of the holding companies really do, in Brazil. So I'm not concerned about the willingness to invest or the willingness to operate in Brazil. I think for the rest of Latin America and South America, I think it's a bit different, because those are smaller markets, not scaled in the same way, so I don't think there will be the same interest in acquiring or setting up businesses there, but I do think that is the case in Brazil.
Questions?
Still talking about the digital influencers, and how do you think we can convince traditional companies to use these kind of channels?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. To be honest, I guess we'll have to be creative. Well, to answer seriously, there are differences between traditional companies. Some of them are more traditional than others, but there is a lot of research now being done on the communications directors and the marketing directors in different sectors and how they're dealing with communications. We have done some of that research ourselves. We did one in EMEA last year where we had around 25 communications directors for large companies, but in different parts of EMEA and in different sectors. And some of them are what you would say is very traditional. So if you are running an aluminium company in Dubai, you don't necessarily think about influencers per se. But what that research revealed for us is that there is, number one, what was common was
a great uncertainty about the future. All of them more or less said that we're very uncertain what is going to happen because there's so much change going on. The media landscape is changing. The regulatory environment is changing.
Sorry, this is a Brazilian, very specific thing.
I'm sure.
He's a guy.
It's not sure it was a
Eu explico isso pra ele. É o cara do gás, não é o cara do gás. He's a guy who handles a knife, and he, you know, offer you to sharpen your knife all the time in the street.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good to know.
Sorry about that.
So just to respond to your question, what these traditional companies are saying is that they're uncertain about the future, they don't know what is coming, they are generally willing to try new things, but they don't know if it will work. They're also under much more pressure on return on investment, meaning that they need to show to their CEO that this is actually going to work. So that leads me to think that we have a role in educating some of these. We shouldn't be condescending that, oh, you're so traditional, oh, you don't want to try anything new, or you're not innovative. Yeah, some of them are just genuinely very uncertain how this is going to develop for them. And they recognize the uncertainty, but they're looking for someone, an expert that can come and tell them how this is done. I met with an exceptionally traditional business in Bahrain 2 days ago, which is, I can't name this exact company, but it was extremely traditional. But they are big ears when we come and say that this is best practice globally. These are examples of other companies in your industry who are doing this. Then their competitive genes are coming out, so they want to listen more. And then thirdly, and this is how you could do this. So I think to respond to your question, there are different cases, but we need to use the experience we have to try to help some of these to understand the potential. And then, if they still don't want to do it, that's their choice. But this is a role that we have. We're supposed to be the expert on this stuff. So we need to be able to come up with good, compelling arguments, but also show the best practice. Last week we delivered a fantastic piece of work to an energy company, a European energy company, where we, almost like management consultants, we've gone through a number of other organizations to see what is the future setup of a communications department. That was the question. They came to us to ask, how will this look 5 or 10 years from now? What are the capabilities we need? What should be in-house? What should be outsourced? What type of processes do we apply that will give more digital? Those type of questions. They're coming to us because we're experts. So if you see traditional companies that are not doing what they should, let's take our knowledge, pack it well, and present it to them with some suggestions of what they should do.
Next one.
That's it, guys.
Yeah, we have time for two more.
I'd like just to say a couple of words here. Is that I do not like to rise false expectations or set expectations above reality. But I think it's fair and realistic to say that from now on, we are going to be better and more integrated with Hugh & Autumn globally. I think this trend has been going on since we joined Hugh & Autumn in 2015. And now I think it's a natural path for us to increase this movement. Lars Erik is a great supporter of us. He's an entrepreneur, just like myself and Edu. He used to have his own company. He sold his company to WPP, so the story is quite similar to Ideal's story. I'm quite happy with this because it's not a bureaucrat person here. It's someone who will be closer to the clients, closer to the people, and that would be good for us. So I think we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of improvements to do, but at the same time, we have a lot of good things here that we do in Brazil that we can share globally, and we have very, very good things globally that we can use more in Brazil. We all know here that we have some things that are missing in Brazil, maybe the biggest example would be a stronger HR department. That's something that everybody asked here. I think this will be one of the natural improvements that will come in the next few months as a result of us getting closer to the global network. And also, I'd like to thank you, Lars Erik, for coming here to Brazil. He has been appointed global president just a few weeks ago, so it's obviously a very good sign, and we all recognize that you come in such a short time. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'll add saying that Lars Erik has a very very similar DNA to our DNA, which is entrepreneurial, but at the same time it's a client-facing guy. We were talking last night. Lars Erik is not a guy that will stay behind the table and behind the desk and doing back office work. He likes to be with the clients, go to the pitches and participate and understand what the environment is all about, which is a very similar DNA that we have here. So maybe we are now prepared to be more participative, in a participative way to the whole network, and we feel very welcome by you, and thank you for coming.
Great, thank you. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. I just want to say one thing in the end, and that is that this vision about One HNK also has to come with fewer layers, more direct contact. It should be easy to, and everyone should be accessible. And that goes for me as well. And it means that if you guys have good ideas, if you have some suggestions, things we could do better, if you have criticism, complaints, also, that's fine. Be prepared if you have a criticism or a complaint, also to have a suggestion for how we could improve. But I want to be very open door, okay? And this is very important for me, because HNK is almost 3,000 people. We have many people in different places. We can't get it all right. There will be things where my views are maybe I don't think well enough. Maybe Richard doesn't think well enough. We need to have everyone on board here. So if you have ideas, suggestions for how we could get to this One HNK, how we could improve our business, how we could make things better for you as employees, new services that we could go to clients with, specialties, to the point that came earlier here on influencers. We have a long to-do list now, very long to-do list, lots of stuff that needs to happen, and we need help on that. So if you want to be active and engage, and don't be strangers, please. And just send me an email if there is anything. We'll talk to these guys, and we will be in frequent contact. We'll try to pick this up. The goal is to have Brazil more central to the new global model. And it goes two ways. You have to take responsibility for influencing global, the other parts of HNK, and HNK will have to take responsibility for bringing the best of what they have to you guys. So if you do that everywhere, it's going to be a much better company over the next couple of years. That's the vision, that's the goal. Okay? So thank you very much. I think we're going to take some pictures, aren't we? So how do we do that? Okay. All right. With the group. Okay, perfect. With the group. All right. Thank you very much, guys. And congratulations with the new president. I can see that you guys are celebrating it.
Let's make a group picture, okay? So, can you go on? Acho que vai ter que chegar todo mundo mais pertinho, bem.
Também, mas quem tá na frente precisa baixar, sentar no chão. Tirem com a gente na hora da foto. Vai.
pra galera ver, né?
É pra eles se sentirem parte da foto.
Eles se sentirem parte da foto, é verdade.
As 10 pessoas.
Volta no timer, Samantha. Vem que você
Ó, a Bela Foi? Foi, né? Mas elas não levantar a mão, porque eles são primeiros.
Aqui, ó, pega o champanhe. Essa batalha que entrou aos 45 do segundo tempo.
Mas tiraram a apresentação, vai ficar essa tela azul ali.
É, mano, por que não bota Rio e no trem fundo? Ai, que foto maravilhosa.
Aê, acabou.
Oi, prazer, Thiago. E aí? Tudo bem?
Tá bem?